the way in which the IEC actually operates is that they're always ready, for anything, especially in the lead up and the build up to actually hosting next year's crucial elections. You raise a very pertinent issue, Naledi, and of course I was actually listening to the conversation that you had with the guests before, in that next year's elections are watershed elections, a first of its kind in South Africa, where independent candidates will be allowed to contest in the the 2024 elections. And of course, like you've correctly cited earlier on, the IEC will be unveiling its communications campaign for next year's elections. And to start off with that, and Naledi, for those who don't know, and just a reminder to our SABC viewers, the first voter registration weekend is on the 18th and the 19th of November. And of course, earlier on this year, we saw the IEC actually launching its online voter registration campaign. And just last week, engaging with the Deputy Chief Electoral Officer of the IEC, he had said that that program is well underway, whereas over 1 million people have registered to vote online. In terms of the voters' roll, the current and the recent stats, as of the 19th of September, you have 26 million people on the voters' roll. But the question that we'll all be asking is that, will those who are eligible to vote actually come out in their numbers to vote? You would remember that in the last municipal elections in 2021, yes, you had 26.2 million people who are actually on the voters' roll, but unfortunately only 12 million came up, to actually vote. So this is what the IEC is seeking to tackle. And just to take this conversation further, I'm now joined by the IEC's CEO, Mr. Mamabolo. Mr. Mamabolo, thank you so much for your time. So the stage is set. You're all prepared for 10 a.m. But in terms of voter registration, the last municipal elections, I think what was concerning for the IEC is that you have 26 million people on the voters' roll, but only 12 million people came out.
Yeah, it's a continuous challenge to get those that are registered to come out on election day to vote. We will do our part as the Electoral Commission through the communication campaign we are launching today, but also through civic and voter education. But a big chunk of that work rests with political parties to ensure that they enthuse members of the public sufficiently to enable them to wake up on the day and go to voting stations.
So in terms of the voting registration weekend for the 18th and the 19th of November, how are things actually, doing in terms of the process leading up to that?
We are quite comfortable with the state of readiness in relation to the registration weekend. All our material is already in the provincial warehouses. 68,000 staff members have been trained, and they should be in a position to give us a competent service on the day.
Let's also talk about voter apathy and what some people call democratic backsliding, young people not finding resonance with politicians, political parties.
We're doing our part. We're going to schools, we're going to universities, and we're doing all manner of innovative things online to try to engage with young people in the platforms in which they engage in during their normal course of social engagement. But again, young people can only be motivated by the political programs of political parties. And we hope that they'll come up with interesting and innovative ways that engages and enthuses young people.
Mr. Mamabolo, next year will be an election year like no other. First and foremost, you have independent candidates that are contesting. You've got over 600 now political parties that are registered with the IEC, but doesn't mean that all of them would actually get to contest the elections, just tell us about the nature of this and the fact that this time around you'll have 3 ballot papers, the national, the regional and provincial.
Certainly, it's going to be a different landscape insofar as the ballot papers are concerned. For one, there'll be 3 instead of the traditional 2. And we don't know at this stage what the number of contestants will be. But should they go beyond 46, then we will have to implement a dual column ballot. And if they go beyond 96, we probably are in the region of a 2-page ballot.
Mr. Mamabolo, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Of course, that was Mamabolo, the Chief Electoral Officer of the IEC. Of course, Naledi, next year's elections will be an election year like no other because you have independent candidates that will be contesting. It's not so clear at this stage how many independent candidates will be actually contesting in next year's elections, because remember, there is that issue of the signatures. So if you're an independent candidate, you need, or a political party, you need 15% of signatures. You also need a deposit deposit, Naledi, a certain amount of deposit. So the proposed deposit now for next year's elections for a political party contesting at a national level is 300,000. If you are an independent candidate wanting to contest, in the National Assembly or those provincial or regional seats, you'll have to pay about 45,000. And if you're contesting, your legislature, 20,000. So a lot is going to be needed going into next year's elections. Of course, the IEC will also unveil next year's registration date when it will take place. But for now, if you want to go vote in your numbers as South Africans, please do ensure that you actually register to vote. You can also do that online. You can also do it through and via SMS by SMSing your ID number to 32810. And of course, that all-important voter registration weekend on the 18th and 19th of November, which is more or less roughly 3 weeks away. Now, lady, we are now counting down to 10 a.m. I can see Commissioner Nomsama Suku is on the podium, and of course, we will be starting the program shortly. Afterwards, we'll be getting reactions from various political party leaders that are actually in attendance. So I do implore SABC viewers to stay tuned to SABC News. We'll also be streaming this via YouTube channel. Of course, you can follow us, your reporters, via your radio platforms and your online platforms.
Yeah. Natasha Phiri, our reporter there in Midrand, of course, reminding us to go out and register 32810. That's the number you can send your ID number to if you would like to. And we implore you to go out and register to vote in what is going to be one of probably the most hotly contested elections since 1994.